You know, usually when we talk about treating a physical injury, there's this underlying expectation of precision, right? Like visibility.
Right, yeah. You want to see it.
Exactly. I mean, if you fall and break your arm, you go to the hospital, they do an x-ray, and it shows that stark, jagged white line across the bone.
Oh, yeah.
And the doctor just points to the screen and says, well, there it is, that's the problem. It's incredibly straightforward.
I mean, it's completely binary. The damage is highly visible.
Yeah.
You put a cast on it. And the healing process is something you can literally watch happen over time.
Right. But then you step into the modern world of international travel, you start crossing time zones, and suddenly that trusty x-ray machine is just completely useless.
Yeah, it won't help you at all.
No, because when we talk about jet lag, we are looking at a physiological landscape that is, well, it's completely invisible to the naked eye.
Oh, totally.
It's this hidden trauma, but one that is just as real and honestly just as physically taxing as, like, a broken bone or a sprained ankle.
It is the absolute definition of biological muddy waters.
Mhm.
I mean, you stumble off a plane feeling off.
Like a zombie.
Right, exactly. You've got brain fog, nausea, total exhaustion. But you can't point to a single spot in your body to explain why your internal systems are just completely misfiring.
And that invisible chaos is exactly what we are exploring with you today. We are doing a deep dive into the hidden physiological reality of jet lag.
And we've got some great data for this.
We really do. The material we've gathered for this comes from a really fascinating stack of sources. We're looking at hundreds of OxyZen Smart Ring user reviews, clinical breakdowns straight from their Wellness Learning Hub, and some incredibly detailed product feature deep dives that explain the actual hardware and software behind these metrics.
Yeah, the sheer volume of data in these sources is just remarkable. What we essentially have here is a roadmap that takes the invisible subjective misery of travel and turns it into measurable, actionable, objective numbers.
Which is huge. And our mission for you today is simple, but ambitious. We're going to uncover exactly how time zone hopping just wrecks your internal rhythms.
It really does wreck them.
We'll look at how wearable, tech-specifically, devices like the OxyZen ring actually measures that physiological wreckage. And most importantly, we're going to give you the specific data-backed protocol to actively hack your recovery and get your body back online.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Because we usually just think of jet lag as feeling sleepy at the wrong time of day, right? Like we tend to reduce it to this minor inconvenience.
Yeah, like, oh, I'm yawning during a noon meeting.
Right, and then lying wide awake staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m.
But the clinical sources reveal that definition is just a massive understatement.
That huge understatement, yeah.
This is a multi-system shock to the entire body.
It really is. And, to truly grasp the magnitude of what is happening to you when you cross time zones, we have to look closely at a metric called heart rate variability, or HRV.
Which is different from just your normal heart rate, right?
Completely different. Yeah, most people are familiar with the resting heart rate, which is just the number of beats per minute.
Mm-hmm.
But HRV is entirely different. It is the measurement of the variation in the time intervals between your consecutive heartbeats.
And that's measured in milliseconds, right?
Exactly, milliseconds.
So just to clarify for everyone, if my heart is beating 60 times a minute, it's not just beating exactly once every single second, like some sort of metronome.
Right, it shouldn't be.
There might be like 0.9 seconds between two beats and then maybe 1.1 seconds between the next two.
Exactly. A healthy, resilient heart should never beat like a rigid machine. That micro-variation is driven by your autonomic nervous system, which has two main branches.
Okay.
You have the parasympathetic branch, which handles your rest and digest functions, and the sympathetic branch, which triggers your fight-or-flight stress responses.
So they're kind of pulling in opposite directions.
Right. Yeah, perfectly said. When your HRV is high, it means both branches are sending competing signals to your heart, and your heart is flexibly responding to both. High HRV means your system is adaptable. It can handle stress and just bounce back efficiently.
Okay, so then low HRV would mean?
Low HRV means your system has basically become rigid. It is stuck in that sympathetic fight-or-flight overdrive, and the variation between the beats drops. What's fascinating here is how violently jet lag impacts this specific metric.
Like it just tanks it.
Oh, completely. The clinical data from the OxyZen hubs shows that after you travel across multiple time zones, your HRV can just plummet. And honestly, more alarmingly, it can stay suppressed for up to 7 full days post-travel.
Wait, 7 days?
7 full days, yeah.
That completely reframes the timeline of a trip. I mean, you could fly out for a business meeting, land on a Monday, And your nervous system might still be flashing a physiological SOS warning the following Sunday.
Long after you've flown back home, yeah.
That's wild.
And that suppressed HRV, it translates directly into a cascade of negative effects.
Mhm.
It signifies impaired recovery, heightened stress, and severely reduced physiological resilience.
Wow.
Yeah, your immune system, your cardiovascular function, your cognitive processing, they're all forced to operate at a deficit because your underlying nervous system is essentially locked in a state of low-grade panic.
Man, if I can jump in with a way to visualize this for a second.
Please.
Imagine your body's circadian rhythm is like a massive, highly trained symphony orchestra.
Okay, I like that.
You've got all these different biological sections playing together, your digestion is the percussion, your hormone production is the woodwinds, your cellular repair is the strings.
Right.
And they are used to playing the same sheet music at the exact same tempo, but suddenly because you flew from New York to London, the string section is still playing on Eastern Standard Time, but the brass section is desperately trying to play on Greenwich Mean Time.
Which is total physiological chaos. I mean, the conductor has basically left the building, and the biological music is just completely discordant.
And the result sounds terrible, which is why you feel so awful. And what the OxyZen ring is doing, essentially, is listening to that chaotic biological orchestra and translating the dissonance into a single, understandable metric, which they call sleep debt.
Yes.
It uses deep sleep intelligence and real-time recovery tracking to show you exactly how out of tune your body actually is.
Exactly. And the way it measures that sleep debt is by tracking the specific architecture of your sleep cycles.
Right, because not all sleep is the same.
Definitely not. It monitors your light sleep, which is at the transition phase, and then your deep sleep, which is that critical window when your body actually releases human growth hormone and physically repairs muscle and tissue.
And then REM sleep, too, right?
Right. Your REM sleep, where your brain is actively processing emotions, consolidating memories, and literally clearing out neurotoxins. So when that orchestra is out of sync, when your circadian rhythm is misaligned, the architecture of your sleep just falls apart.
So you're not getting those restorative phases.
Nope. You might be lying in a hotel bed for 8 hours with your eyes closed, but if the ring detects very little deep or REM sleep, because your brain thinks it's like 2 in the afternoon, your sleep debt is quietly accumulating.
Gosh, I was actually reading through the user testimonials in our source stack, and there was one from an OxyZen user named Yumi A that captured the psychological relief of this tracking perfectly.
Yeah, what did she say?
She noted, quote, "Jet lag recovery is easier now. The ring tracks my sleep debt, so I know when I finally bounced back."
I love that.
Yeah, that phrasing really stuck with me, finally bounced back. Having that objective data takes all the guilt and guesswork out of the equation.
It really does.
You don't have to sit there wondering if you're just being lazy or if you lack willpower or if you are genuinely still recovering from a massive physiological disruption.
The validation that comes from actually seeing the data is incredibly powerful. You can open the app and see undeniable proof that your body is still actively repairing the damage from the travel. And I mean, it's crucial to understand that this damage doesn't magically begin the moment your feet touch the ground in the new time zone.
Right, yeah. If the time zone shift is the lingering issue, the initial trauma to your body actually begins thousands of feet in the air.
Exactly.
The flight itself is ground zero for this physiological wreckage long before you ever even look at a clock in a new country.
Yeah, because the body's stress response during travel is heavily influenced by respiratory strain.
Huh.
When you are sitting on a long-haul flight, the cabin is pressurized to keep you safe, obviously, but it's not pressurized to sea level. It's typically pressurized to an altitude of roughly 6,000 to 8,000 feet.
Wait, really? So even though you are sitting down watching a movie and eating a tiny bag of pretzels, physiologically, you're sitting near the summit of a small mountain for like 8 to 14 hours.
The physical toll is identical. I mean, at that cabin altitude, the partial pressure of oxygen in the air drops significantly.
Wow.
Yeah, your lungs have to work harder to extract the oxygen, and as a result, the oxygen saturation in your blood, which is your SpO2, can drop.
And the ring tracks that.
Yes. During these long flights, and even during the initial adjustment period when you land, the ring is continuously measuring these critical fluctuations in your nighttime breathing and your blood oxygen levels.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the sources show that monitoring that SpO2 is a game changer for frequent flyers.
Oh, for sure.
We have a testimonial from a user named Beth A, and she explicitly states that she relies on her wearable ring to monitor her blood oxygen levels, specifically during flights and also high-altitude hikes.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, she actually refers to the device as her silent guardian.
That's a great way to put it, because when your blood oxygen drops, even by just a few percentage points, it triggers an immediate chain reaction in the body.
Like an alarm going off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Your cardiovascular system realizes the tissues aren't getting enough oxygen, so it forces the heart to pump faster to compensate. And this respiratory strain is a direct trigger for that sympathetic nervous system response we were discussing earlier.
The fight or flight.
Yeah. It drives your cortisol, your primary stress hormone, up. It drives your protective HRV down, and it significantly increases your body's overall physiological stress load before you even reach your destination.
Okay, I hear the clinical explanation about the altitude and the oxygen changes on the flight. But let's be real for a second.
Okay, sure.
Is the intense stress the ring is picking up genuinely from the cabin pressurization? Or is it simply the fact that we're trying to sleep completely upright in a tiny, uncomfortable airplane seat surrounded by strangers while the person next to us is loudly chewing ice for 6 hours?
Right, right.
Like, isn't a huge chunk of this just purely physical and environmental discomfort?
Well, it's a very valid challenge. I mean, the ergonomics of economy seating certainly don't help your sleep architecture.
Obviously.
However, the clinical data in our sources confirms that this is actually a blended burden, and the respiratory stress is a highly distinct, measurable factor.
Interesting.
Yeah, even if you are lying completely flat in a luxury first-class suite with noise-canceling headphones, your body is still experiencing the altitude. The lower oxygen saturation forces a physiological response,
Yeah.
regardless of your physical comfort.
So you can't buy your way out of it.
Nope. What you end up with is a multi-layered trauma to your body's homeostasis.
Right, that delicate, highly regulated internal balance your body constantly works to maintain.
Exactly. You are combining physical immobility, the environmental respiratory strain of the cabin altitude, and the impending circadian misalignment of the time zone shift into just one massive overlapping physiological burden.
It really is the perfect storm. You're asking your body to maintain its delicate internal balance while simultaneously throwing a hurricane of environmental changes at it.
That's a lot to handle.
So, what does this all mean? We've diagnosed the problem. We know the biometric wreckage involves plummeting HRV and oxygen strain.
Right.
Now we need the actionable solution. I mean,
Right.
can we actively tell our brain that it's safe to relax and sync up with this new environment?
We absolutely can. The sources we are looking at outline a very specific data-backed recovery protocol.
Okay, I'm taking notes.
Good. The overarching rule for hacking the time zone is to aggressively prioritize morning interventions at your destination.
Walk us through it. What is the exact first step I need to take when I wake up in London or Tokyo?
Step 1. You need to expose yourself to roughly 1 hour of direct, bright sunlight immediately upon waking,
An hour.
or as early as possible in your destination's morning in.
Why a full hour? And like, if it's freezing outside, can I just turn on all the lamps in my hotel room and order a room service?
I wish, but unfortunately, artificial hotel light just won't cut it. To understand why, you have to look at the biology of the eye.
Okay.
You have these specific receptors in your eyes called melanopsin receptors, and they are acutely sensitive to the intensity of light, which is measured in lux. A brightly lit hotel room might give you, say, 200 to 300 lux of light.
Which seems bright to us.
Right, but stepping outside on a sunny morning or even a slightly overcast morning exposes those receptors to anywhere from 10,000 to 100,000 lux.
Whoa, that is a huge difference.
Massive, and that massive dose of natural light is the single most powerful signal you can send to your brain to reset its internal clock. It instantly halts the production of melatonin, which is your sleep hormone, and signals to your suprachiasmatic nucleus, the master clock in your brain, that a new daytime cycle has officially begun.
Okay, so the sheer intensity of the outdoor sunlight acts as a biological switch, shutting down the sleep hormones.
Exactly, got it.
What is step 2 of the protocol?
Step 2 is to pair that bright light exposure with a brisk 20-minute walk.
So no casually sitting on a bench with a coffee. You actually have to get your heart rate up.
Yeah. Physical movement is the second pillar of this protocol because it manipulates your core body temperature.
Oh, interesting.
Normally, your core body temperature naturally dips in the evening to induce sleep, and it slowly rises in the morning to promote alertness. By forcing that temperature up with a brisk, sustained walk, you are artificially recreating your morning biology.
You're kind of jump-starting the system.
You really are. You're tricking your master clock into waking up. Furthermore, you're engaging your cardiovascular system, flushing out the stiffness of travel, and signaling to your metabolic systems that it is time to be active.
I love the mechanics of this. I mean, it might feel ridiculous trying to power walk down a freezing street in London at 6 a.m. after a red-eye flight, but you are literally forcing your biology to adapt.
You are.
It's like you're grabbing the conductor's baton and forcing the strings and the brass sections of your internal orchestra to sync back up to the exact same tempo, whether they want to or not.
It is a deliberate, active override of your disrupted circadian rhythm. And, the brilliant part about having a wearable device during this process is the feedback loop.
Because you can actually see if it's working.
Exactly. You never have to guess if your morning power walks are actually doing anything.
Yeah.
You can gauge your adaptation in real time by tracking your morning HRV data on the app.
Okay, so if I do the hour of sunlight and I do the brisk 20-minute walk, what exact numbers am I looking for on my phone screen the next morning to know I'm winning the battle?
You are looking for a clear upward trend in your HRV.
Just an upward trend.
Right. So if your HRV plummeted to, say, a 25 the morning after you landed, and after implementing the protocol, it creeps up to a 30 and then a 35 over the subsequent days, that upward trajectory is the undeniable, objective proof that your body is successfully adjusting.
That's so cool.
It is. It means your parasympathetic nervous system, that crucial rest and digest function, is finally coming back online and taking back control from the stress response.
But let's manage expectations here for a second.
Okay.
How long do I actually have to do the sunlight and walking routine before I stop feeling like a zombie?
Earlier, you mentioned the HRV drop can last for a full 7 days. Does this protocol magically fix it overnight?
Well, no. It is not an instant cure. You are fighting deeply ingrained evolutionary biology here.
Right.
However, the timeline provided in the clinical breakdowns is very encouraging. By consistently using these sunlight and walking strategies, you will typically start to see a measurable improvement in your morning HRV data within 2 to 3 days.
2 to 3 days just to start turning the massive biological ship around.
Yes. Around day 3, the subjective feeling of heavy exhaustion might start to lift, and your metrics will begin climbing.
But not fully recovered.
No, a full physiological recovery where your HRV, your resting heart rate, and your intricate sleep architecture are completely restored to your normal pre-travel baseline. That typically takes up to day 7.
That is wild. So even if you wake up on Wednesday feeling relatively okay, your body is still technically doing deep repair work under the hood until Sunday. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really highlights why tracking this biometric data is so vital for anyone who travels.
Absolutely.
If you rely solely on how you subjectively feel, you are flying blind. You might push yourself to do a heavy workout in the hotel gym or take on a massive high-stress project at work on day 4, thinking you are fully recovered.
You feel fine.
Right, but your HRV would clearly show that your body is still deeply compromised and just lacking resilience.
You'd just be digging the physiological hole even deeper without realizing it.
Exactly.
It really makes you realize how delicate our internal systems are and just how much proactive respect we need to give them when we force them across the globe.
We really do.
Let's recap this for you because there is a lot of powerful, actionable information here. Jet lag is not just a temporary feeling of fatigue. It is a measurable, multi-system trauma characterized by a severe drop in your heart rate variability, a fluctuation in your oxygen saturation from the pressurized cabin, and a massive accumulation of deep sleep debt.
Well said.
But by actively tracking your morning HRV and utilizing that specific recovery protocol, 1 hour of bright, intense morning sunlight paired with a brisk 20-minute walk to raise your core temperature, you can actively take control of your biological clock.
This raises an important question, though, a rather unsettling thought that the data in these sources forces us to confront.
Oh, where are we going with this?
Well, the clinical data explicitly states that it can take up to 7 full days for your HRV to recover and for complete physiological adaptation to occur after a major trip.
Right. 7 days.
If that timeline is accurate, what does this mean for frequent flyers?
Oh.
What happens to the commercial pilots, the flight attendants, or the international business travelers who are crossing time zones every 3 or 4 days?
Oh, wow. The math doesn't work in their favor at all.
Not at all. Are their bodies ever actually achieving a state of full homeostasis and recovery? Or are they living their entire lives in an invisible, perpetual state of biological jet lag, constantly accumulating cellular damage and sleep debt without ever giving their internal orchestra a single chance to get back in tune.
That is a genuinely terrifying thought experiment. Because without that wearable biometric X-ray showing you the hidden damage to your nervous system, you would never even know your rhythms were perpetually broken.
You'd have no idea.
You would just assume that a baseline of exhaustion and low resilience was your normal state of being.
Exactly.
And on that slightly chilling note, we will leave you to think about your next long-haul flight a little differently. Catch you on the next deep dive.